All right, it's Scott with Cruising Classic, and we're doing a little maintenance on the bus today. She needs a new steering gear, which I'll show you. So this is the Sheppard steering gear. It sits up on top of the axle in there. As you can see, using my foot for reference, it's pretty big. This is a two-person job to wrestle this guy up in there. It sits up on top of the axle, and I got my buddy Mike over here today to help me install this. Now,
shut up, damn it!
Scott Crosby was here, and we called about this part. It's going to take a week to get this in, so tackling this without him, I think we can handle it. It's probably just a day's work. My buddy Mike came over to help me with it today's, and I'll try and shoot some video while we're doing it. All right, so we're under the bus. Got it up on ramps. Got it blocked up so it can't come down and squash us. And that is the steering gear, Mondo size. This is the input shaft from the steering wheel. And there's the Pitman arm, and there's a Mondo bolt on the bottom of that that's torqued to 450 foot-pounds. It takes in this particular installation, this can vary, but it takes a giant Allen wrench there in the middle of that. So I went to Harbor Freight and I got a Mondo 3/4 inch Allen impact, and we'll be getting that off of there. And the bolts on top hold it. It's strapped to the axle with these U-bolts, and there's some nuts up there on top. Mike, maybe you can shine the light up on top there. So there's a Mondo bolts. Oh, you didn't. There's one right there. And yes, we have to drain it. And so there's the hydraulic line. There's one of them there. Has to be drained. It's got ATF in it.
Where's the other one?
And yeah, it's got ATF in it right now. We're switching that out to 1040, as has been recommended by the manufacturer. So that's the deal. We're going to mark this Pitman arm so we know where it is on the shaft before we actually pull it, because it is indexed on there. It's splined. It's a spline shaft under there. So we got to mark that, make sure we understand where it is, how it's installed in relation to everything else, so we're centered, And we have to mark those hydraulic lines so we know which one goes where. We don't get them mixed up. And drain it, and then we can proceed with taking stuff off. So, yep, that's the plan. So yeah, we got a waterfall of ATF right now. It's coming out the hose, draining the system. It's also coming out the steering gear because there's an in and an out, and the other hose is still connected. Mike's taking that off now, so we can have a bit more control over how this is going to be draining. Took the first hose off. I'll probably just continue recording here until he gets it off of there, because he's just about got it. Probably going to be like 6 gallons in here, maybe more. Not real sure what the capacity is. Got it? What's going on? You got that second hose. What are you doing? You're bringing it around or something? Oh, there you go. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, because I know what I'm doing. Worked on this kind of stuff before.
Oh yeah, Mike's been a heavy equipment mechanic. He used to work for a place, did all sorts of stuff like this. Not bus stuff, but
High reach rental equipment.
yeah, that kind of stuff. So,
Up to 135 feet.
so this is mostly straightforward project, we think. You know, so unhook the lines, unbolt it, get it out of there, put the new one in. Yeah. So. All right, so this is the reservoir back in the engine compartment. We got to pull the cap off this and take a look at the filter. And that's the power steering pump right there. So this line here is the supply, comes into the pump here. And this line here goes up front. That's the pressure line. And then the return, and that's marked white, and then the return comes over here in the bottom.
Oh.
And we get to investigate what we've got going on in here. See what this filter's all about. We're gonna get that out of there, see about getting another one or clean it. So yeah, we got it out of there. That's a Napa Gold 1430. And we were thinking we had to tap that cotter pin out of there, but no, it just spun out. The whole thing just spun out of there.
But there's another cotter pin inside. So,
Well, we'll take that over to my press and get that out of there.
okay.
So we're gonna make a run, get some filter and some tools.
Maybe lunch.
It's a little early for lunch still.
10:30 is early enough. Or we could
All right, so we got the lines drained, and we got this nut off the bottom of the Pitman arm. Was not torqued to 450, no way, because it came off pretty easy. And now we're just making sure we understand how this thing indexes, and there's a little punch mark there on the Pitman arm, and then there's a little arrow on the spline from the steering gear. So when we put it back together, that's how it's got to go. We're going to get a puller on this, and we're going to pull this off. Okay, we got this puller on here. This is a small engine flywheel puller we're using. Show them that Mondo nut that came off of there. Yeah, flip that around so we can see the other side of it. Yeah. And we use that Mondo Allen to get that out of there, 3/4 inch. And now we're going to see if this is going to cooperate. So, moment of truth here.
It might take a while to get.
You got them blocks into the other end of the Pitman arm good? You want to move them a little bit?
Those are there. I might need a bigger wrench. Because I've worked this thing many times. Just. Yeah, I need a bigger wrench.
Bigger. I need a bigger wrench. Ooh. Nope, she popped off. And I don't think that moved.
No one. Oh, I think it did. Oh, maybe not. I'm not so sure, but let's. All right, cut.
Okay, attempt number 3. Kind of skeptical this is going to work here. Whole thing.
Okay, 3 jaw.
Yeah, we're going to switch to a different puller. Got this Harbor Freight guy here. 3 jaw, deeper. So we'll get that on there and we'll resume. Time's a charm. So we're trying a 3 jaw on here. And we'll see what happens. neighbor's weed eating, so sorry about the background noise.
Better than cock-a-doodle-ooing.
Yeah, the rooster's quiet right now. We're hoping a coyote gets him. Looking promising so far. I think when it drops, it's going to drop in the blocks or not underneath the Pitman arm in the middle of the Pitman.
You got a hammer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can tap on that. Or tap right there. Give it a thump.
Do we have one handy here? Nope. Here, let me,
Yep. Okay, need a hammer.
see. All right, let's see what happens here. Nothing yet, huh?
Oh,
Is it movement? Watch out for that Chinesium puller. That thing could just explode on you.
that's true.
Yeah, you don't want to beat on that power steering thing too much.
No, but it's going in for rebuild.
That's encouraging some more oil to dribble out, interestingly. Maybe it's because you're actually turning the...
Oh, it is, damn it. I need to put that.
Huh.
I don't have enough leverage to... I need a really big puller. This is Chinesium.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that's gonna...
Just take that wrench off there and give it another crank. You really got it wedged on there, huh?
I do. I think it's metric.
Oh, is it really?
The Chinese puller is metric. And it's dripping fluid down on me. It's all right.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Dam it up. Oh, there we go.
It's loose.
And she's off.
One more little...
Just all of a sudden, she decided to cut.
Yep.
Just one more little crank. Huh?
All right. All right, so that's done. All right, let's swing that out. Out of the way.
Okay.
There you go.
And
Okay.
there's that Mondo spline.
Now, yep, so
Everything on one of these buses is big. Yeah, look at that. I mean, just no problemo, right? Did that thing just fall? Oh, okay. It's just all right.
not even hot.
Yeah.
Not too hot. Okay, so I'm gonna get underneath.
So there was two. There was two in the front, and then there's two on each side in the top. There's one there, and that one on the top on the back's gonna be a bitch to get to. Actually, I don't know if you can fit in that space with that. Think you can get it up in there? Yes, no, maybe.
I need a shorter impact socket.
Let me get you the short.
Okay.
Oh, but then the short won't. Yeah, it ain't gonna fit on there because you got the you got the bolt
No, the bolt's not that far out.
All right.
Oh, that one is.
That's going to take a
Let me
sec.
try this one. Let me try this for this one first. Oh, there we go.
Watch out for the airbags and shit. I don't know if you're over there or not. But...
That's the right direction. No, that's tight. Ah, dang it. I don't know.
So,
Okay.
you just memorize which button is pushed in for that. It's really easy to bump it.
Yeah, I know.
The goddamn trigger. Or the
I
reverse.
pulled it off to check.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, isn't it? It worked really good. Huh?
One more.
All right, so we were getting ready to pull this off here with the floor jack, and we were getting this in position. We pulled the U-joint, or the U-bolt off there, that very last U-bolt, and the damn thing just toppled off the axle. It just fell off. So
It's flat up there.
we misunderstood essentially how this thing was sitting there.
I'm really glad I wasn't laying in there.
Yeah, and it's really fortunate that it didn't land on anybody, because it would have really seriously hurt him. We thought this thing was just resting on top of the axle, because the axle's flat and the underside of this thing is flat, but evidently the center of gravity on it is much more forward, and so it just rolled off of there once that bolt came out. So if you're ever doing one of these, be aware it's not going to stay up there by itself.
Nope, I mean, it's flat. I thought it would, but
Yeah.
that's for sure.
So yeah, we're just kind of taking a break here to process what almost happened with this very heavy part almost falling on somebody. So yeah, you can never be too careful working on buses. Everything's big and heavy, and we thought this would sit on this flat up there, but there's a lot of weight that hangs off the front of it. This hangs off the front of it, that hangs off the front of it, and so there's really very little as far as center of balance that actually sits above the axle. So that's why it fell. And yeah, so that's the old one. That's the new one going in. We're gonna transfer some fittings off this and proceed with care. So day 2, and we've got a transmission jack here, and we've got this power steering gear strapped onto it and chained onto it. As you can see, it's a pretty odd shape. This part here, let's see if I can get this. This part here is the part that attaches onto the axle. This piece here attaches to the front of it, and then this underside flat part here attaches to the top of it. Underneath here, there's a big flat section that attaches to the top of the axle. So that's all got to hang off the front of this jack so that we can place it up in there on top of the axle and get a bolt started before we unstrap it. Yeah, so the mass of this thing, the center of gravity of this thing is somewhere forward. It's over in here, over in this area, because the shaft hangs off the front of the axle. See, here's the edge of it. Edge of it's like in this line here. So you got the shaft and the input kind of hang off the front of it. So when you're looking at it up in there, it's not obvious that it's sort of overhung and that it's gonna come off there. It looks like there's a whole bunch of it sitting on top of the axle, and there's not. So use caution if you're ever dealing with one of these things. Get yourself a transmission jack. You gotta figure out for yourself how to attack it, how to attach it on there. There's not very much good area to do that, but this is how we did this one. Not particularly proud of this example, but it's not going anywhere. So we're going to poke that up under there, get it bolted in place, and attach the lines and proceed this morning. All right, it's going under the bus. Go ahead and poke it under there.
There.
All right, so we got it up in there and we're taking the straps off. We got a couple bolts in it, and ain't going nowhere now. Dangerous procedure. And there's the jet coming out. So she's just got a couple bolts in there. She's got one in the front and one up on top. Okay, so we got the lines hooked up. We took the return line off the bottom here and ran it into this bucket and ran it for a while. And you can see all the nastiness that came out of there. That's some ATF and air bubbles. We kept adding fresh while we're doing that, and the oil looks like this in the reservoir because it's full of air. It's cycling air through there. So we're getting ready to install the Pitman arm now. We're cleaning the splines. We're gonna put some never sees on there. And there's an index mark on the Pitman arm and on the shaft that we have to line up and make sure the steering wheel's in the right position as well. And yeah, we're just about in that position to do that.
Get the light in the right spot. All right, so I get this close.
Never sees first?
No, I want to get this close first. Just
where's that screwdriver to turn that? Where's that screwdriver at? That's too big. Okay. So turning the input shaft to get the mark to line up, basically. The wheels are already pointed straight forward, so basically you're going to do this.
A little bit.
And then before we put the final on, I should go up and look at the steering wheel.
No, well, before that goes on, because that comes off.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna get some more on there. And the special bolt also gets never sees applied. All right, we're torquing it. 450. Let's go this way further.
Keep turning. I think it's still pushing that.
All right, we took a break and got a bungee rigged up on here to hold the wrench in better, so we can both be out here reefing on the far end of this, like 4.5 foot long
Look at my feet over here.
torque wrench. So we're getting ourselves situated around the front of the bus.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, go ahead, push. Oh yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's working good. Okay, come back to the click. Okay, push. Yep, you're getting turns. Yep.
Oh,
That's
okay.
working good. No click yet. Okay, all right. Go.
Ready?
Yep. Let's go.
Ready?
Yep. Let's see if I can get. Yep, it's turning more. We're just cinching it up on the splines is what's happening right now. It's not fully seated yet. Okay, go. Okay.
Oh boy, yeah.
All right, go.
Oh my gosh.
Waiting for something to break. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Push.
Right for the rest too.
Need a break?
Ready?
Mm-hmm. You're getting your
Oh man, okay.
you're getting your leg presses today.
Do the other leg now.
Switch legs.
Oh,
What are you pulling on?
Charlie horsed my other leg.
All right, let's switch. Let's switch jobs.
Okay, that hurt.
Here. You got to come over here and hold this.
Okay.
Hold this up, and I'll come around and switch so I can push on it.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Oh, dude, we just twisted it off. All right, so we broke 2 more wrenches. We broke a 1/2 to 3/4 adapter. We broke the second one that we went and got, and we also we broke a 1/2 inch ratchet, trying to get this to 450. We've done all we can do on it. It's probably, it's torqued as high as we can get it. Probably 400 maybe. So we set the tabs on it. There's tabs on there to hold it and lock it in place. And the splines are well engaged, so we're calling it good. And we're going to go ahead and get the steering box, the input shaft aligned properly so that the steering wheel is aligned in the forward direction. And then we've got to do the pressure release valves. There's a pressure relief valve for each direction, extended left and right, that set the travel and release the pressure when it gets to, as far as the suspension allows. So that's next. All right, so we got the work done. We're getting ready to go for a little test drive here and see how things perform. So stay tuned. So we're going 55 on a rainy Oregon day. It's still summertime, but we just got some little bit of crappy weather. Coming up to a stoplight, we might get to use our jakes. And it's green. We're going to get on the freeway here in a minute. Bus has got a 6V92 TA in it. It's quite a bit of power for a mostly aluminum bus. Pretty lightweight, performs pretty well. The issue we were trying to address is slop in the steering. I want to get on a straight section of road. How she does tracking. Got a straight section here. There is slop in the wheel still. Vibration back there. But it's still, it's got a little play in it. But before it was like 10 inches of play. And now it's like, maybe 2-3 inches. I don't know, we're going to pull this hill here and get us a straight section of road. temperature, good oil pressure. Speed's dropping a little bit. Something hot, but I think it's that guy in front of us. We're going to go ahead and turn around. Using a Jakes so far, no brakes. Now we're gonna have to use the brakes. No, not 4. Okay, now I am. But we're not in the favorable RPM range quite yet. Second, but it didn't give it to me. We're merging.
What's that?
We're merging. And we're pulling a hill. I wonder if you can see Willamette Falls from up here. So we came back from the test drive and we took the input shaft off and moved it over by one spline to the left to try and straighten it out a little bit. Project's done. I think the steering wheel's got less slop than before. You know, it's a 62, so it's still gonna drive like an old car, but it should be easier for my wife to drive now, or other people to drive it that maybe haven't driven it before. I guess, you know, I was kind of used to the slop in the wheel, and makes it easier to drive, basically. She's an old bus, but we like to keep up on the maintenance on her. We got a trip coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we'll get a better chance to try it out and see how she's doing. It'd be a great help to us if you would subscribe. We got more videos coming. We're going to do a tour of this bus and a tour of Mike's bus, who was helping me out today. And we got this trip coming up, and we'll do some footage of that. And if we come across anything interesting on that trip, we're going to be we'll be videoing other interesting rides, houses on wheels as we can. So look forward to seeing you down the road, and thanks for watching.